So when you talk about El Salvador, it usually reminds you of all the crime, the violence, the gangs, all the horror stories. Now, if you read some of the stuff or if you are aware of some of the news from the past, it's really bone-chilling experiences of people. They talk about all the crazy experiences that they have faced or seen in the country. The country was almost filled with, jam-packed with all these violent gang members doing all sorts of crimes, not only inside El Salvador, but also exporting a lot of that stuff to the neighboring Latin countries. But that is all the past. There's one big issue. There's one big issue I see currently with El Salvador. It's not the crime. It's not the crime. It's something else, and I'm going to get to that in a bit here. But before that, let's just look at the current situation in El Salvador. There are a few good things that have happened, and the president, Nayib Bukele, I love the president of El Salvador. I think he's very, very futuristic in the way he thinks. He's on the right track. He's transforming the country, overnight, if you will, right? So he has put all these criminals, all these gang members, all these violent actors behind the bars. He's really arresting them and processing them. And again, he is obviously putting them behind the bars. If he had ill intentions, he would have suddenly made a lot of these people disappear. He's following the law, he's following his own principles. So that's one very good thing that is happening or has happened in El Salvador. The second very important thing that he did was the adoption of Bitcoin as the legal tender. I know the Bitcoin is slightly down at this point, but that's okay, right? It has its up and down. It's only a matter of time. It could bounce back. So adoption of Bitcoin is a right message to the international community. It enforces confidence in the country, and with the progress that different countries are making, a country like El Salvador needs to stand out, needs to make a statement, needs to attract investors, and it has since the time he announced Bitcoin as the legal tender. So it grabbed the headlines, it made international news. A lot of investors started flocking to the Bitcoin beach, setting up shop in El Salvador, doing their investments, moving their capital, again, parking or moving your capital or liquidating your hard capital and then moving it into Bitcoin and then locating or relocating it to El Salvador is an exciting prospect for a lot of people. A lot of people have started that route, and there's also unofficial, unconfirmed news of people being able to obtain the citizenship, the all-important, crazy El Salvadorian citizenship, which then could lead to an El Salvadorian passport. A lot of people, as I said, they know El Salvador for all the stories, right? Not the right reasons, but they have this passport, which is a tank of a passport, very useful travel document, very useful citizenship. So unconfirmed reports of people investing in Bitcoin and doing some process. Again, not a legal, not a straightforward program. If there's nothing defined, it's always an iffy thing, right? If you get into something, you might get away, but again, not advisable. Nayib Bukele, interestingly, announced, very excitingly, he announced that he is going to roll out a program. He's going to update all the constitution. He's going to make all the changes to make the citizenship possible, meaning citizenship possible for whoever wants to move and invest in El Salvador. Now, suddenly, he stopped in his tracks. What happened? What happened? So that is where my important point in this video comes. The biggest issue right now with El Salvador, I think it has halted the progress, and this is just my opinion, it has halted El Salvador's progress to this point. I think it's 75% there. But in order to move further, I think Nayib Bukele should follow through on that statement that he made regarding the citizenship, right? He said a few things that he wants to update the constitution and make the citizenship more accessible, more possible, more streamlined, more faster. There's some issues with the constitution, the El Salvadorian, and issues, meaning I find them as issues, is that if you're away from the country for a certain time, then there's a problem. Just like in Mexico, there's that clause where if you're away for a certain time, then the citizenship could be lost, could be temporary. So all those things need to be fixed. All those things need to be cleared for 2023 and beyond, and for the investors. So I really hope, and I've reached out to Nayib Bukele, their president, a couple of times through different channels. but I plan in future, hopefully, to travel to El Salvador, see if I can personally visit the office of the president. A lot of people I speak to are very excited, very interested in moving to El Salvador, in investing in El Salvador. And one of the biggest questions that everyone has on their minds is my investment secure? Am I going to get that citizenship? Am I going to get the residency, which then get me that citizenship eventually? So two things that need to happen. One is there should be a program, an official program, just like how Nayib Bukele initially stated, that you invest the monies and you get direct citizenship. So we hope that that happens very soon, right? This is the right time. All the crime is behind the bars, and this is the time to now capitalize on that first move, which is now you have all the confidence, you have all the investors lined up at that door. Now open the doors, give them the citizenship, and that's when the floodgates will truly open and monies will truly pour into El Salvador, transforming the future of El Salvador for good. And for people who don't have the instant capital to purchase or to invest in getting that citizenship, there should be the residency program in place, which can then easily lead to citizenship. The residency program, like Mexico, one great thing about Mexico is that residency is flexible. In a lot of cases, it does not matter if you have temporary or permanent. It can still lead to that all-important Mexican citizenship. Again, the Mexican passport is a tank of a passport, gets you Canada, gets you a bunch of other very useful countries. Same is the case with El Salvador passport. So the moment the investors have that glimmer of hope of getting that El Salvadorian passport, gone is the crime. No one is worried about all of that, right? All that they're looking forward to is being a part of the country, being a citizen, being a proud citizen of El Salvador, and voting for Nayib Bukele for the years to come. Now, while I track the developments on El Salvador, in the meanwhile, if you are interested in getting your feet wet, you want to get started with Mexico, maybe you have future plans of doing business, etc., make sure to watch this video. I cover a lot of material on different topics regarding the RCBI domain. And if you have missed my all-important interview with my Mexican attorney, make sure to hop on to this video. I cover very critical details about the Mexican citizenship in a lot of detail. All right, if you liked this video, give me a thumbs up. Make sure you're subscribed to my channel, because the moment there's any development on El Salvador or any other program, I'll be the first one to make a follow-up video. Catch you in the next one.